taste to get to the effect. It's just awful. I don't know about y'all. You may have that testimony. God may have done that thing from you. He may have stripped things from you. He's took things from me that I'm ashamed of that I did. I still do things that I'm ashamed of. I won't tell y'all. I'm not without sin. I don't believe that there's ever been one that's walked on the earth that was without sin. I tell folks all the time, they say, well, brother so-and-so, he's this and he's that. I said, well, but he sins. Well, we don't know. I said, I do. The Bible teaches me that a man that tell you that he's without sin is a liar. And the Bible always teaches that liars will have their place. My mother used to teach us, I was bad, Brother Frankie, when I was a little kid. I'd do something. I'd lie about it. I'm sure you never did that. There ain't no kids in here tonight, so I'm sure there's never a grown-up in here that's never lied to their mother. But I lied to mine several times. She always found out somehow. Somehow. I don't know how. I sometimes I told on myself. Sometimes it just found its way out. But as I was a little kid, I was bad to tell a little lie, Well, I didn't do that, Mama. I wasn't over at so-and-so. I remember one time she said, I went by the school today. She always went by the school every day. That was the way she went to work. I don't know why they built the school over there on that stinking road where my mother went by there every day. She said, I went by the school today. And you weren't at school because your truck wasn't parked where you normally park it. I said, oh, Mama, I parked on the other back side of the school over by the shop. She said, no, you didn't. She said, when I didn't see your truck, I pulled in the parking lot and drove all the spaces. You weren't at school. Where were you? I was caught. I don't know why I tell this, but I had a mother that cared. I had a mother that loved me. And I was caught. She said, you weren't at school. I said, no, ma'am, I wasn't. I said, I was over at the barn. Went over there, saddled up the horse, and took the day off. I said, I hate school, and you know that. And she understood, but I still got in trouble. When your daddy comes home, you got to tell him. Yippee. Those were always fun days when you had to sit around, wait on daddy. Why not just go ahead and beat me? I'm sure none of y'all never had no spanking. I've had plenty. I deserved every one I ever got. That's the way our Father in heaven is. He sees us doing something wrong. How many of us have said, well, no, Lord, I didn't do that. It's funny to me how He can take us back to the place and show us the spot where we did do it. And we have to repent of those things. Bow down and say we're sorry. I'm thankful that we have a God that cares enough. Just like I had a mother and I had a daddy that cared enough. That's a lot of the reason that we have the fears in this world that we have with kids. It's a lot of the reason that we don't have enough faith in these children. A lot of these children never had parents. And a lot of them, when they got up to 16, 17 years old, they tell their mother, you can't go through my stuff. That's mine. Don't look in it. My mother didn't care. I told a man the other day, I said, I had a wallet back then. I'd take it out. I'd lay it on the dresser there at the house. I'd go off somewhere, come back, and it might be opened or I'd open it up, and it may be something a little different. I knew what happened. My mother checked on me. Open up the glove box in my truck, Brother Frankie, and go through everything. I dare you to tell her she can't do it. It wouldn't be pretty. She'd say, well, you can ride the yellow bus to school for 2 weeks. Mama didn't back up either. She ever said you was grounded for a week, that's what you got. You didn't get grounded for Monday and her feel sorry about it on Tuesday. You get grounded for a week, you got grounded on Monday, and on Sunday after church, you still couldn't ride your bicycle. You had to wait till Monday after school before your grounding was over with. Mama meant business. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for parents that care enough about us, that loved us enough to raise us in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Take us to church. Load us up on a maybe a Tuesday afternoon in the summer when it was hot. Brother Frankie, my daddy had been to work at 4:30 in the morning. He'd come home somewhere between 3 and 4. He'd hook up to the boat and load us up, take us over to the lake. We'd water ski and have a good time. I know he was tired. It was hot down there where he was working, but he never mentioned anything about it. Had parents that loved us, cared for us. I believe that's what we have. That's what we have in a God. We have a God that loves us. We have a God that cares for us. And we have a God that when we ask of Him, He answers those things. And I see things around here being answered. And I'm thankful that those things are answered. I thank the Lord when He answers something, Brother Frankie. Just a few weeks ago, He answered something. And if I make it until the 23rd on Sunday night, I'll get to baptize my little girl. I begged Him, pleaded with Him, and He saved her. And she knows she's saved. We was sitting somewhere here a while back and sitting there with somebody and something was said, and she said, no, I got saved. No, that ain't going to happen. I've been saved. She's just a literal. We was talking there tonight at the house, and Tammy was talking about something, and she said, oh, it just get up and walk off. She said, no. She said, I count them, and I write the number down, and then I walk off from it. It never rang in her mind that her mama was talking about what she had getting up and walking off. She's just a literal. She said, no. She said, I count it, I write the number down, and I get up and walk off from it. We're not worthy of everything we get. But I'm thankful He gives it to us. I'm thankful God has given us what He's given us. He didn't give us a spirit of fear, folks. He gave us a spirit of faith. And I believe He gave us a sound mind. Most of us have still got our sound body. We can get up and go out of the house and go to work and do God's work. I believe there's never been a time in my life I've never stood in a pulpit, and it'd be more of a time this day that we need to tell folks about God. I've used him many a times. I know a little feller that lives over about Beaufort, Georgia. And some of y'all may know William Eller. But Brother William used to come to me, and we would talk. He would always talk about God and His goodness. He never failed to talk about God and His goodness. As much as he has in his life and the hardships that he has, he never failed to talk about God and His goodness. And I was lost, and I was not really out in the world. I was going to church every Sunday morning. I put on my clothes just like everybody else. I went to church, sat on the bench Sunday morning, Sunday nights, Wednesdays. I was doing my part, Brother Frankie, but I was still lost. I still needed God. I still remember it today. Brother William was coming across the parking lot, and my brother-in-law was here, and he got out of the truck, went around there to read a meter. And I was sitting in the truck there, and William walked up to the door. And I rolled my window down like I always do. I was talking to William, and he looked up at me. He said, "Have you been saved?" I looked at him. I rolled the stinking window up. I was done talking to him at that point because I knew I was lost. How many folks have you come in contact with this week that we should have asked, have you been saved? Do you know Jesus? Have you been to the altar? Have you made yourself an altar? I believe we pass paths with people every day. I've passed paths with several people this week, and it's just Wednesday. Probably just about everybody I've been to their house. I try to abide by the guidelines and the rules that they've set before us. I went to a place yesterday. It's a big fancy, where they bring all these chicken eggs in. They do all this stuff, and the guy there, he said, you'll have to wear your mask. I said, okay, Well, I pretty much always had to wear my mask in this place because of the health things that are going on there with eggs. I guess they're afraid something will jump off us and get inside the egg, make a chicken. I don't know. But back where I started at working, and I worked on the door there and fixed it, and he said, when you go through that door right there, you got to have your mask on. I said, okay. So I put my mask on, walked through there, and everybody in there, and I walked halfway through the building, and I got lost. That building's just humongous. So I was standing there kind of in a daze, and a guy comes running over there to me. He said, "You can't be in here. You got to get out of here." And when he got up to me, he saw my name on my shirt. I had my mask on. He said, "You got to get out of here." He walked up there, and I took my mask off. He said, "Oh," he said, "I know who you are now." He said, "You're fine." He said, "What are you looking for?" And I explained to him. It just goes to show you how that we can cover up with just a little mask, cover up our identity. But regardless, when you cover up your identity with that mask, God still knows who you are. He knows everything about us. I believe that, folks, and I'll die believing it. I believe He knows the very intent of our heart. I've been taught that, and I've read it in His book. God knows everything about us. Whether or not we want to yield to His Spirit and get saved and have a life. Everybody says, well, you can't have I see so many people out there in the world, they don't have they don't have the Lord, and they got such a more abundant life than I do. But their reward's not as good as ours is. Their retirement program is not as good as mine is. I'd a whole lot rather retire in heaven than I would in hell. You as you go through your weekly lives, when you pass by folks, just mention Jesus and see what happens. I'm going to turn it back over to Brother Frankie.
Are you looking for a place to worship God in spirit and in truth? Hello, I'm Frankie Green, pastor of Trinity Baptist Church in Auburn, Georgia. We would like to invite you to be in our service with us. Sunday school starts at 10, with morning worship at 11. Sunday evening worship begins at 6, and Wednesday night prayer service at 7. We are a King James Bible-believing, fundamental, independent Baptist church reaching out to those who need a special touch from God. For more information, you can visit us at trinitybaptistauburn.com or on Facebook at Trinity Baptist Church Auburn. We welcome you to Trinity Baptist Church, where you will become part of a family.